Hello, 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 and welcome to Talk About It Tuesday. It is January 18th, 2022. And boy, do I have a special treat for you today with my guest, Rebecca Scott. You are just going to love her. She's got a potty mouth just like me. She says it like it is, and she's all about going deep. So it's going to be a great conversation. We're talking about how to be the ringmaster of the circus in our head. And for those, I'm going to bring you on. Rebecca, I see you're here. I'm going to bring you on in just a second. For those of you who are new to the platform, I do this to bring diverse voices and experiences to the forefront so that we can all become better leaders, the best version of ourselves, and make even more progress on our healing journey. So without further ado, let me bring on today's guest. Let's see how to do this. Invite to join. Yeah. Let's get it to go. Let's get it going. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I am well. I am just settling back into normal life after a week with COVID unpleasantness. So I'm readjusting to the real world.
My goodness. Well, I am so appreciative that you're getting better, you're on the up and up, and that you were able
hmm
to have this conversation today.
Yeah, of
Um,
course, of course. I'm happy to do it.
Yay. Well, listen, I did a little intro. But
hmm
again, I'm so grateful for your time and energy to shed some light with our audiences about this such important topic about being the ringmaster of our monkey minds, the circus in our head. And I usually hand it off to my guests for you to introduce yourself because like I can't do it justice. So um so yeah,
Sure
like I just
thing.
love to hear, yeah, like what do you want to share about your life, your experiences that kind of make you who you are and yeah, just start there.
Yeah, so I am indeed Rebecca Scott, also known as Scorebecca online. And I am primarily a leadership coach. But as I mentioned to you originally, when people would call me a life coach, I'd be very much like, oh no, that's not me. But as time has gone on, I've realized that work and leadership and whatever one does for a job is part of life, and your life is part of that job. So you know what? Call me a life coach. Call me any kind of coach. My reason for being is to help work and life suck less for people. Like that is my goal. And it's funny. Some people are like, well, why don't you say make it good or make people happy or anything like that? And I just feel like there's so much pressure on us these days, maybe less so in a COVID world, but at the same time to like be happy and be our best selves and all of these like really lofty goals. And I feel like if we can just make things more pleasant and less sucky, then we're doing okay.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Um and first of all, yeah, we got to make levity and bring lightness into
hmm
this life, right? Like and I
Yeah.
love that your tag kind of does that in and of itself. And I'd love to talk about how you came to do this work because I know like it hasn't been like your whole career. So
Nope.
I'd love to hear the journey of becoming a leadership slash life coach, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a degree in English and theater. Ta-da. And as you may notice, as I get overexcited, and might use a big word or two in addition to the 4-letter words that I like. But so I graduated from college and started working in fundraising for theaters and doing special events for theaters. And special events work was really my passion. I was the special event manager at the Folger Shakespeare Library here in DC for over a decade. But when I was 27, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And initially I thought, oh, this won't have any effect on my life. And then as time went on, I started working with a cane or walking with a cane, and I started doing all kinds of extra mobility things. I sometimes used a mobility scooter. And as time went on, eventually my body was like, Rebecca, please stop doing work that requires you to be on your feet. So when I was in my late 30s, or I guess I was 40 at the time, I had been doing a job for a year that was like a stopgap, like trying to transition out of events. That contract ended, and I realized I had no idea what I wanted to do next. So being a modern woman, I turned it over to Facebook and said, Facebook, what should I do? And my high school English teacher happens to be the glorious Jennifer Garvey Berger. And she reached out and said, hey, my leadership consulting firm needs administrative support in the US. Do you think you might be interested in that? And I was totally skeptical about the idea of leadership development and coaching, but I said, you know what? This will allow me to work from home. These people are smart and interesting. Let's give this a go. Cut to 6 months later, I'm completely in love with the work they do. And I realized that coaching works because people have coached me in my role. And I decided, okay, I'll apply to a coaching program. And that was 3 years ago now.
Oh my gosh. I thank you for sharing that story. There's so much richness even in that journey that I just want to like highlight for people too, because, first of all, listening to your body and honoring that it was telling you like, not to be on your feet. And I think in general, we wait till the last possible second to actually listen to our body. And there's that. I think the second thing I just want to pull out is that, you have no idea what to do next. And I think a lot of people find themselves in that situation. And what I love about how you took that next step was to reach out and ask for support, ask for guidance, ask for thoughts, via Facebook, as you said. And that takes courage and that takes boldness to say, dude, I'm at a loss. Do you guys have any thoughts? And like, that's actually what led to the opportunity. And then the third piece that's jumping out is you were like, let's give it a try, right? You weren't like wholeheartedly like, oh my God, this is the dream next thing. You were just like, what? It seems like, and so even taking I think so, and I pull that out because sometimes we think we have to make the perfect next decision. It has to be the best thing versus saying, you know what, let it be an experiment. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. We have to be taken so seriously or be so hard on ourselves. And so those 3 points alone in that story, I think are just a testament to just all of your, not all of, but like your characteristics and who you are, like what you bring to the table. And I think there's so much to learn from that.
Yeah, I most of my nieces and nephews are college age or just graduating from college these days, and they spend a lot of time wringing their hands about what they're going to do. And I'm like, look, let me send you my resume. I have been a special events manager. I've been a fundraiser. I've worked at nonprofits, and I spent 2 years working for a government relations consulting firm where I was both an executive assistant and doing some consulting about the international traffic in arms regulations. I assure you, you have no idea where your career is going to take you. So just take it one step at a time and see what happens.
Yes, such sage advice for sure. Like we're capable of so much, and I think sometimes we're conditioned to think you've got to pick a thing and stick with it and become the most
Yeah.
efficient, productive, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, and then we're not really taught how to transition and how to think about change and shifts in a way that really serves us.
Yeah, well, and I think especially living with chronic illness kind of immediately pushed me into the deep end of like complexity thinking or thinking
Mm,
about how we don't know what is coming each day because lots of conditions are like this, but multiple sclerosis in particular it is very difficult to predict the path that the disease is going to take short
mm,
term or long term. So I could wake up tomorrow and have no vision in an eye or both eyes, even.
mm,
Um, and knowing that, any of us could wake up like that,
mm.
but knowing that there's something going on in my body that makes that a real possibility definitely makes me more open to taking things as they come and embracing all of the like joy and good stuff I can get when it comes to me because who knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me to hear what it sounds like having to live and learn to live with uncertainty as one of your superpowers, which I'm sure was not something that, overnight happened.
No,
Um,
definitely not.
yeah, so I'm curious if you could share a bit about that, because I think a lot of the world has been forced to really see how uncertain
Mm-hmm.
life is and then learn to navigate those waters. So what are the tools in your toolbox for like living with that uncertainty?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest tools for me, and I realize that it is not possible for everyone to be as, for lack of a better term, out of the closet as I am with my
Mm,
condition and disability. Now, mind you, my disability became so apparent that I didn't have much of a choice about
mm,
whether or not to be
mm,
open with it. But that openness, being really, really honest about what is
mm,
going on with me at any moment, has really helped me survive and thrive, I think, both
mm,
because I've noticed that when I am open, and we certainly see this with leadership as well, like when leaders say, I'm struggling,
mm,
know what to do next. But here are some thoughts I have, or I welcome your thoughts. I mean, kind of in the same way that I was about, what am I doing next with my life? That
mm,
people tend to respond really well to that. And because I can raise my hand and say, I need help, I can thrive in a
mm,
different way than I did earlier in my experience with multiple sclerosis when I was like, nope, I'm fine, don't get me water,
mm.
don't help me stand, I'm good, I got this. And the second I can admit I do not got this at all, doing disgrace to my English major there, but it was intentional. That that really changed things for me.
And oh my gosh, I just what you're saying makes me think of, right, like the superpower of telling our truth and being our authentic selves and bringing
Mm-hmm.
all of that to the table. And I hear you kind of honoring it was a choice for you, um, maybe not a choice, however you see that. And not everybody chooses that. And I think in a way, right, it's very vulnerable to say, this is what I struggle with, or this is what I have to deal with every day, and making that public, especially in the realm of health. So,
Yeah.
and even myself, with a chronic illness, have had being in corporate, having hidden it for a long time and not saying
Hmm.
anything, and then deciding to say stuff, and then just like navigating all those waters. So, um, what would you say to people that are watching this now or after the fact, that are like debating like what it would mean to actually share something that they've kept to themselves, whether it's a physical aspect or otherwise? Um, what would you say about navigating bringing that forward?
I think the first thing a person should do is really think about all it may entail, because I will
Mm.
tell you, at least from my perspective and experience, that you end up talking about whatever the thing is
Mm.
probably double what you think you would. Sometimes it feels like, oh, I'll just make this announcement and then, we'll all go back to our normal lives, except people will understand when I don't know, a little tireder than usual or whatever the thing may be. But a thing that does happen that I find exciting and important, and I realize not everyone will feel this way, is that you can become a spokesperson for
Mm.
whatever the thing is you're going through. If it is a kid with special needs, if it is
Mm.
an aging parent that you need to help along, whatever the shit is that you are dealing with in your life, if you speak up about it, and this really helps bolster me in moments where I'm like, oh my God, am I really going to talk to people about my issues with sexual dysfunction and multiple sclerosis, which is like, why on earth would I do that? Except that when I do it, people write me afterwards and say, thank you. Nobody
Mm.
talks about this thing, or people have no idea what we go through. So I'm not quite
Mm.
answering your question, I realize, so please keep asking it and I'll see if I can pull out
No, no, like
better
this is
suggestions.
beautiful. This is beautiful. Yeah, it's like what I'm hearing, right, is yeah, yeah, like realizing, hey, you might be talking about this thing that you're bringing to the forefront, this part of you, this experience, and you might be talking about it maybe more than you even want to. And so just having an awareness of what that might mean and what you
Mm-hmm.
might need as a result. Maybe it's setting boundaries, or maybe it's just
Yeah.
pushing through the discomfort of this being a bigger part of the conversation than maybe you want. Um, and then also how amazing it is to be of service when you do
Yeah.
share your truth. So
Mm-hmm.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is a really magical thing. And another one of my superpowers definitely is it is one piece vulnerability, but the other piece
Mhm.
is a friend of mine said this to me recently. He said, you write about your experiences with such a shamelessness. And I mean that in a
Mm.
good way. And I was like, no, I get what you're saying. It's true. I can just say, here it is. Here's what incontinence is like when you're, in Rome, not close to your hotel. Here's how it all goes. And yeah, anytime I can anchor myself not only in my own experience, but how my experiences might be able to help other people,
Mm.
that makes any of the bumps along the road a little easier to bear.
Yeah, and it's like your use of humor, like, just is a clear superpower. And I'm curious, like, I think people that go through hard things like have
Hmm.
humor because that's how you kind of get through the hard things. But like for you, yeah, like how does humor help you? And like when like when is it an avoidant tactic versus, a feeling hard feelings versus,
Mhm.
just not taking life so seriously or finding some levity in the super heavy. Like I'm just curious how you see humor in your life.
Yeah, I think it is part of the grand buffet of options I have in any situation, and sometimes I'm going to go straight for humor. Usually, I scoop the humor up from that buffet when I'm around other people and I'm worried about their feelings.
Mm.
So like if I fall, I'll often, if assuming I'm not bleeding or anything, I will immediately make a joke to ensure that anyone around me knows that I'm
Mm.
okay,
Mm.
and that if they giggle because it was a particularly amusing way that I fell, or I just, and this could be a
Mm.
Southern thing, this could be a woman thing, could just be a Rebecca thing, but I always want to make sure that everyone else is okay.
Mm.
And then I check in more with myself. So again, if I'm bleeding from the face, chances are I'm not going to make a joke.
Right.
But if I may not assess the damage until I'm sure that okay, everybody around me knows that I'm
Mm.
alive and I'm going to be okay.
Wow, I mean, yeah, you're taking care of others in a way before you're taking
Yeah,
care of yourself. It's like your orientation.
yeah,
Um,
very much so.
mm,
And what was so you very kindly in your introduction to me in social media mentioned that I'm a big fan of feeling all of the feelings.
mm,
Um, and I think in the moment, I tend to lean really hard on humor. But
mm,
then when I am on my own, then I'll go a little bit
mm.
deeper inside and be like, oh God, that was the worst. I hated it so much. And then I'll weep about it for 15 minutes and then probably feel better afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. And I appreciate that, right? Because there's this in the moment, how do we survive and get through this difficult moment? And then how do we
Mm-hmm.
come back to say, how do I release what needs to release, or how do I allow myself to feel what I need to feel so I can move through the thing and then it doesn't build and build and build.
Yeah, it's interesting how the usual formula is tragedy plus time equals comedy. But for me, it's like tragedy immediately means comedy, and then maybe later I'll be like, "Oh crap, that was tragedy." Okay,
Right.
let's process this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, oh my God, what a beautiful. I love the language you use. Oh my gosh, like the buffet, like I love all the metaphors that you use. It's beautiful. Um, so so well, first I love also like that sharing the superpowers that you have and like owning that, and it's just beautiful, like, because I think like the things that we are kind of conditioned to feel shame about, or the things that we hide, are usually our superpowers. I mean, that's one of the things that
Hmm.
I say all the time, right? And I'm curious if there was a turning point, right? Because like this conversation is about the ringmaster, like how to be the ringmaster of
Yeah.
all the shit that's in our heads that we tell
Hmm.
ourselves. And so I'm curious, like, if you recall like a turning point of like, how do I take this, hand that I was dealt and look at it like in a way that actually serves me? How do I think about this in a way that actually serves? Like, I don't know what that journey was for you, but I'd love to hear if you can recall how you got to that point where you just like owned it and like embraced it and hugged it and loved it and was like, this is what it is, you know?
I think it is an ongoing journey. Um,
Mm,
and I can't really point to a thing except that, oh golly, I have no idea how long ago it was now, but I started a blog.
mm,
And the moment I started a blog, I rolled my eyes at myself and was like, really, you're starting a blog? Because I started a blog like a decade after blogs were like a thing. And I was like, oh dear God, I'm just going to be another sad person with a chronic illness being like, here's the awful thing that happened to me this week. And there's absolutely a place for that, because you know what? Awful things happen to all of us all the time. So there's no reason not to share it. But I had this self-consciousness about it. And I was like, okay, I've got to land at least 2 jokes every time I write something, which is ridiculous. But that is how I thought of it, is, all right, as long as I can land some jokes, as long as I can be entertaining as I'm telling this story, then I can continue to write it. And of course, things have happened to me that aren't funny. Like, even with 8 years since they're happening, I really have trouble finding much humor in them. And I try to be honest about that when I'm posting. But when people started responding, particularly people who are not living with a chronic condition, or at least not one they've told me about, I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing a thing that matters. And then when I started coaching and realized that my hyper openness and honesty and my potty mouth and everything else, for some people it really registers and opens up a different kind of vulnerability for them. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see why or how the things that have happened to me could really serve me well. So, I mean, let me be very clear. I am not saying that if somebody, a fairy godmother came down and said, I will cure you of multiple sclerosis, but you have to give up coaching and other things, I might be like, you know what? I really
I'll
like
take that deal.
coaching. However, I just want to get on a dance floor without clinging to another human again. But of course, luckily, that's a false construct. There are no fairy godmothers coming for me anytime soon. So, so again, I can embrace the pieces of my situation that are really glorious. Like, coaching is one of the coolest jobs in the world. It is such a gift to walk beside somebody, metaphorically, obviously, as they're making changes in their life. That, oh my God, it's so precious and so glorious.
Oh, I couldn't agree more as a fellow coach. And so, you know, when we talk about, right, like our mindsets, or like our perspectives on things, right? Like, you found perspective, you found a story in your experience and how it serves you and how it serves others. And, you know, but sometimes we get caught in thoughts that are destructive and not constructive, and then they start to define us. And, you know, I'm not sure your experience with that bout, like, you know, did you have dark days of like defining yourself in ways that weren't serving you? And then how do you get out of that? Or what tools do we have to, like, even acknowledge if we're doing that to ourselves?
Yeah, so sometime in the past year, one of my colleagues posted to LinkedIn. I have clients who say they can't do things, and I want everyone listening to this, he did a self-recorded video. I want everyone listening to this to think about things you say you can't do. And if that's really true, or if that's just an excuse. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that later. And I did a meditation that said, we're going to examine limiting beliefs today. So think about the thoughts you have that don't serve you, and scribble them down. And something else, somebody another one of my colleagues has written this wonderful book called Change Your Stories, Change Your Life. John Sawtell is his name. It's a lovely book. And it's about the stories you tell yourself about what you can and can't do in life. So by the time the universe had put 3 of these things in front of me, I was like, oh, for God's sake, I'll do this. So I did the meditation. I scribbled the things down. And one of the things I wrote down, Tosca, is I'll never be whole again. Like that flowed out of my pen. And along with things like, oh, I haven't lived up to my potential, which is a thought that I am familiar with, and a handful of other things, but I will never be whole again. And I looked at that afterwards and I was like, sweet, fancy Moses, what are the implications of this? Like that is a dark thought. So I cried about it because I am a laugher and a crier, and then I spent some time thinking about, well, what does this mean precisely? And my body probably won't be whole again in a traditional way, but what about the rest of me? And that really gave me a shift in thinking. It took some time to process, but at the same time, I realized, oh, wait, no, there's whole and there's whole. So, no longer carrying that particular story around with me moving forward, I think has made for a richer life, for sure.
And it's just so, I'm just thinking also about how this is like a recent in your life to have seen that thought and to be pushing through it. Like you said, right? Like the journey is ongoing and we just keep going deeper with like, how are we holding ourselves back? How are our thoughts like holding ourselves back? And, and I know in the prep for this call, we talked about the duality of things, right? There's like a realness and a reality of what you face every day, and then there's hope and expansiveness for a whole shit ton of things that are possible.
Oh yeah.
So like for you, like how do you navigate those things? Because I think we're all trying to navigate those things, right? We all have like real constraints, like let's not put lipstick on a pig, like it's a real constraint, and we want to believe that there's more available, more accessible. And so like just this lot, and like, and then all of these thoughts in our head at the same time, and like, holy shit, like, it's like, I feel like I just need to meditate for 24 hours a day.
Right. Just to process it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and for me, writing really helps. So I keep a journal. I write in it at least a couple of times a week. So like just being able to process, here is what I'm hopeful about. Here's what the reality is that I'm dealing with, makes a huge difference. I think talking to people about it really helps too. Coaches can be really useful for this stuff, folks.
Right?
Or just make friends with a coach. That works too. Or really anyone who listens. Well, yeah. Yes, yeah. Well, it just depends. But yeah. So I think it's just a constant balancing act. It's as we were talking about when we were doing our prep, it's a polarity where both of these things exist simultaneously, and it's not as if one should only be hopeful or only put themselves in reality. It's that you've got to do both simultaneously. And I think with anything related to this silly ringmaster metaphor that I came up with is that you really, in the way that a ringmaster does, like you have to be paying attention to what's going on in all 3 of the rings. and notice if you're leaning too hard on, oh God, my circumstances are dire. Like, it is entirely possible that there will be a point when I have to be confined to a wheelchair. And as I say that, I feel like an asshole, because I know there are plenty of people who are confined to wheelchairs who don't think of it as a dire thing. It's a thing that's allowing them to live their life better. But from my semi-mobile perspective, that seems like a horrid thing that could happen to me later. So I just want to acknowledge that, because I know that, again, see, this is the downside to paying attention to what your thoughts are, is that you can end up in these spirals of, oh God, I'm being a jerk, or oh God, what did I just think then? You know, you'll be looking over your shoulder constantly, but I promise it can lead to a better life. And now I have no idea what I was saying, Tosca. So you're gonna have to ringlead me back to.
Yeah, well, you were saying like that you have to pay attention to the three rings, right? And because we were talking about how do you, like, you were just saying like that there's like just there's truth, and then there's like just paying attention. That it's like a double-edged sword of like paying attention.
Right,
and what that can lead to.
Yeah. So paying attention can both allow you to balance those two things, the hope and the reality, which probably keep changing sides because I'm not paying enough attention to even my metaphors right now. And then there's other stuff going on around it. But if you can pay attention to when you're leaning too hard on one side or another of any duality, but particularly this duality, when you're living with a chronic condition, or again, a situation with a child or a parent, some life shit, whatever that shit may be. Pay attention to when you're putting on the rose-colored glasses, and pay attention if you've already got, the mourning shroud on for something that hasn't happened yet.
Oh, I love that. It makes, oh, sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it just makes me think of a Buddhist concept, which is like the middle way, right?
Right.
Which is, like when you're just feeling totally hopeless, or when you, like you said, like when these extremes, like how can we come back to finding a little peace in the middle way?
Yeah, and I don't know for sure how I do it. I wish I did. I probably could make a lot of money if I could figure that out and publish a book on it or do something. But I know a huge part of it comes from having the willingness and ability to navel gaze every now and again and be like, wait, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Like, and where did that come from? Because again, the things like I will never be whole again.
Right.
I had no idea I was thinking that until, the world forced me to, I mean, it didn't force me, but there were enough signs that I was like, okay, let's do this thing. And then it was like, oh, okay, all right, this is a thing I'm thinking. And the thing I was thinking about too is how we talk to ourselves mentally and even verbally can make a huge difference. A while back, I shifted from cursing my legs when they weren't cooperating, or any part of my body. Like I have hand tremors, all kinds of little things can be frustrating. And I'd be like, damn it, legs, why can't you cooperate? And I was like, whoa. Now this is kind of corny. Anyone who's listening, I 100% acknowledge that this is corny. And I would never say that to a child. I would never say that to another human. I also have caught myself, and I'm sure lots of other folks do too, where you're like, I'm such an idiot. Why am I such an idiot when you make a small mistake, or even if you make a bigger mistake? Like these things that we would never say to other people, we say to ourselves. And so realizing that I was cursing parts of my body, which I have every right to curse because it's frustrating as hell.
Mm.
But
Mm.
my legs really going to want to cooperate with me if
Mm.
I'm being a jerk to them? Is my brain really going to want to cooperate with me if I'm telling it how stupid it is all the time? This is tangentially related, but it's still related to like notice the language we use, especially with ourselves, and just think about what the implications might be.
Oh, I 100%, like, I think this is totally related, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what's going on in our heads, and then what gets even amplified by saying it out loud, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I totally identify with what you're saying about, like, I have a herniated disc, and like I was just hating on my back for like a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been a practice to be like, to send it love, to breathe love to it, and to, and then, like, yeah, like, how does that change things? Like, that it actually does matter how we talk to
Yeah.
ourselves, what thoughts we allow to stick, because it's like, right, it's like, we may not be able to prevent the thought from coming, because like it's
Mm-hmm.
our conditioning, it's what we've been doing for years, and but then it's like, well, what's the next choice? What's the choice that you're going to make about what to do with that thought?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said the choice word because
Mm.
that is the whole point, is that we can choose.
Mm.
It can be hard. It can take a lot of trial and error to shift the thought or the language or whatever it is. But
Mm.
I now, if I have fallen on the floor and I'm trying to stand, I can't believe I'm admitting this in a recording, but there it is. I will say, "Come on, legs, you can do it," which again, totally corny, but that's gotta be better than saying, "God damn it, why don't
Right.
you work like other legs?"
Well, and honestly, like, I don't think it's fucking corny at all. I think it's like, it's like, we have to be our own cheerleaders. Like, we can
Very
do
much
it for
so.
everybody else, but are we
Mm-hmm.
going to do it? Yeah, you got it, girl. You got, yeah, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, how powerful is it to to be our own best friend, and
Mm-hmm.
root ourselves out and know that we have the power to lift ourselves up. Like, that is so powerful, and to practice that, to practice that, whatever it is, the affirmations, the saying kind things to yourself, the looking in the mirror, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, like, it can sound really hokey and it can sound cheesy to people who are like, what? And look, I have severe resistance to certain practices, like, like talking to your inner child, and, stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. But then you do it and you're like, oh shit, like, that was kind of powerful. you know?
I an activity that I was giving the side eye to when it was proposed to me was to find a picture of yourself as a
Mm.
child that you love, and to take a picture of it with your phone, or
Mm.
attach it to your monitor uh, where you work, so that when you have those moments when you're just so frustrated with yourself, you can look at the child that you were, who you can't
Mm.
be angry with, because mine is in an adorable tutu and about to do her first dance recital. Like, that is just a child of glory and obviously tremendous
Mhm.
talent as a
Mm.
4 year old. Um, you can't be mad at that
Mm.
version of yourself. So I don't know what else can work to ensure that we have a mental picture of our best selves.
Mm.
But I think anytime we can remember our awesomeness, this is again, it's the I am awesome, I suck. Like, both of those things exist because we're all
Mm.
humans. So, like, when you're really leaning on the I suck, how do
Mm.
you remember that you're also awesome?
Yeah. How do you come back to that? Um, yeah, I'm curious, like, even what tools do you use? Like, what do you use with your clients to help come back to that other side?
Well, not surprisingly, a lot of my clients deal with imposter syndrome. I never
Mm.
have that problem. I am joking, of course, because everyone does. But a thing that I find really useful, both for myself and it's been useful for my clients, is to talk about, write about, even just think about, like, what cool things have you
Yes.
done? It could be a decade ago, it could be last week, it could be something huge, like you went to the Olympics, or something
Mm.
small, like I wrote a really great email that got a good response from
Mm.
somebody, or not even that. It's even better if you don't have to anchor it in somebody else's response to it, but like when you just
Mhm.
know that you did something great. You could have baked a fabulous batch of muffins, or God, my hair looked good today. Whatever the thing is. I don't
Yeah.
know, the hair you may have less control of, so that might not be such a good example. Um, but remembering, oh yeah, these are things I did. And I think one could, I've never heard this proposed before, but now I'm curious about it. Because as I said earlier, I write in a journal a couple of times a week, and I always make a point to list a handful of things I'm thankful for
Mm.
at the end. You know, this, it's been proven that if you're trying to build more satisfaction with your life and be a happier person, a gratitude practice can be
Mm.
really useful. And now I'm curious about a like good for me practice. Like
Uh-huh.
if we took time once a week to say, all right, what did I do this week that was even just moderately fabulous?
Yes. Actually, yeah, I that's something that I work with clients on a lot, which is celebrations and most prouds, like on a daily basis, because we can so easily forget what we've done. Like,
Yeah.
or even like I have like, a folder in my inbox that's just like happiness emails, just like somebody saying a nice thing, or
Yep.
like, although I forget to go back and look at them on bad days, but you know what I mean? Like, how do
Yeah.
we, even like, right, it's January, right? Like, and I think it's been a rough start. Like, you had COVID. Like, I can't even
Yep.
imagine, like, what circus was going on in your mind during that. Like,
Yeah.
and also coming on the other side of it, like, as we continue to plow through, right? Every day is a new day of how we look at what our outlook is. So how can we look at even at the past 18 days of January and just
Hmm.
honor the wins, like you said,
Yeah.
from the very small ones to like, I survived fucking COVID. Like,
Yep.
yeah, fun
Yeah.
time. Like,
Absolutely. If I can just test negative, I'll be in business. I'm not there yet, but that will be a party.
okay,
Definitely.
gotcha. Well, we like, okay, the celebration is around the corner, I am sure.
But the
Um,
symptoms being gone. No, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to hear that that's worked for your clients. So I'm only slightly disappointed that I didn't come up with a unique idea, but there are very
I
few unique ideas left. So I'm not
I'm
going to beat
sure
myself up.
you have lots of unique ideas. And um I think that it's uncomfortable. It is really
Mhm.
uncomfortable to it can be for people to take a look at their day, because we're so trained to only celebrate the big milestone things. It's like, well, how many of
Yeah.
those are there in a given year, in a given lifetime? It's like, come on. Like,
Hmm.
and so giving ourselves credit can be really difficult because we're so used to, I think, a mentality of beating ourselves up if we're not careful, if we're not doing the work of like interrogating, like, what are my thought patterns, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and it's so interesting to me how, and I'm sure there are neuroscience things. That's good,
mm,
Rebecca. Oh, but there probably is like scientific research that could tell us why we go back to the negative things. But like
sure.
my inner critic, I swear, has a megaphone that my inner cheerleader, who should have a
Mm,
megaphone in addition to pom poms, like has no ability to access,
mm,
or at least she hasn't wrestled it from the hands of the inner critic.
Yeah.
And it just is, it's crazy when I think about it rationally, but in the moment, it just seems like the most normal thing, that my inner critic is going to be like, you had subject verb disagreement in that email you sent to one person, and I will spend the week obsessing about that. However,
Mm.
the fact that I, helped 3 clients with their challenges for the week, I won't think about again.
Right, right. It's like how we're so harsh on ourselves, and we spend more time with that than we do with the wins and the celebrations, and the like, we
Mm-hmm.
don't give the other stuff airtime to actually be the thing that's with us more. The
Yeah.
beautiful parts of how we operate and what we're doing and what we're accomplishing and all that. Um, yeah, I mean, it's so I just I love this conversation with you. I love that you just like you're such a model for what you coach others, right? Like I just you go through the storms and in service of others. It's a clear orientation that you have. And I know one of the descriptors that you use is MS Illuminator and bringing visibility to some of these things. And so I also just want to give space to here in this moment, because part of what I love doing here is like helping people to learn about things that they don't know, or just bringing visibility to things that are under rocks that
Mm-hmm.
don't belong there. So it's a long way of asking you, like, if there's anything that you wanted to share that you wish people knew, whether that's to bring more empathy to the world, whether that's to bring stronger leadership, to the world, as it relates to this, which I think, not everybody knows a lot about.
Yeah. I think the biggest takeaway from having MS, even though it doesn't apply to me so much now, except in
Mm,
situations like this where I'm seated, my head tremors under control. As long as I don't hold my cup with one hand, you're probably not going to
mm,
notice my hand tremor. Like, I can go under the radar in moments like this. But for the most part, I can't. This
mm,
is all to say that MS is one of so many quote unquote invisible
mm,
illnesses out
mm,
there. And I think more than anything, just acknowledging that you never know what
mm,
someone else is going through. Uh, and again, as I've said many times, it can be parents, it can be children, it can be what's going on for the individual, um, like internally, but you just can't know what someone
mm,
else is going through. So I think anytime you can cut both yourself and others a little bit of slack, and be a little bit kinder, which again is a thing that I roll my eyes at a little bit now that everybody has their Be Kind t-shirt. But whatever, it's a great message. We should be kind, damn it. So be fucking kind, people. That's
That's a t-shirt I would buy. I would
yeah,
buy
I
the Be
would
Fucking
too.
Kind
Yeah.
t-shirt. Yeah, 100%. Well, I think it's like this stuff that when they become slogans and they become like the Instagram scrollable things, and it loses like really the the truth of it, or like the not heaviness, but you know what I mean. But how it really change somebody's
Yeah.
day, somebody's life, to actually choose
Mm-hmm.
kindness, to choose non-judgment, to choose um, uh, love over fear, over your own insecurity, all that stuff. It is powerful.
Yeah. And if you can look in the mirror and do that for yourself, then you're going to be so much better equipped to
Yeah.
face whatever life is throwing at you. And to, I mean, I would say if you have to choose, be kind to others. If which is false, you don't have to choose it all. Please don't choose. But like, well, and I've already said in this very conversation, I am kind to others before I am kind to myself. However, if you can be kind to yourself, you're going to be so much better equipped to be kind to others. I feel like they're not quite self-fulfilling prophecies, but like anytime you do one, you're better able to do the other. So it just becomes, hopefully, this cycle of kindness.
Well, that's a mic drop moment for sure.
All right, let's go with it. Be fucking kind.
Yeah, to yourself first. It'll be easier.
Yeah.
It'll be easier. It'll open up. Yes, it opens up more compassion for others when you can be compassionate with yourself. 100%. I concur. Like, yeah, we're totally getting a F-bomb T-shirt line going. Like I'm all about it. And so listen. So I can't believe we're like already getting to the top of the hour. So I also want to give space. 2 questions. Number one is there something that we haven't covered around like limiting beliefs and our monkey minds that you feel compelled that you want to make sure we cover? And then the other piece is like, how can people get in touch with you and work with you and learn more about you? And I know part of also what you're calling into the world is speaking opportunities and sharing your message. So yeah, those 2 things, I'd love to just make sure we have time for that.
So this, hopefully future coaching clients won't watch this, because one of my favorite tricks is the phrase "up until now," which can really help with beliefs and how you talk about yourself and talk about things. I have clients who say, "Oh, I'm totally disorganized. I am just a disorganized person." And I will say, well, okay, up until now, a disorganized person, but that doesn't mean that you can't take steps moving forward to become more organized. Or what I don't know why dancer is coming to me. I guess my brain is still in that, fairy godmother allowing me to dance again. But like, I'm an awful dancer. You know what? You can take classes. I can't cook. Well, but you could learn. Like, barring a handful of things, what you are right now is not a static thing. And especially what you see yourself as right now is not a static thing. So anytime you catch yourself saying, I can't, wonder if maybe it's well, I haven't thus far. Moving forward, I think that that can be a really useful reframe.
Ooh, I love that. So powerful. And I'm seeing that Bear Brown just joined from Feel Safe VIP. He was a guest last week, and
I saw him.
Oh, amazing. I'm like,
great,
back to back,
so great.
Amazing start to the January. Yeah, and it just makes me think of that. It's like what I'm hearing you say is like that we have the choice to take action on who we are becoming and who we are tomorrow, and the power is within us. The power is the ability to change the thought, which can change the action. It's just what's resonating so strongly.
Yeah, it's true, and it's not easy. I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying, just a couple of shifts and ta-da, you're done. Right. You're a better human, better able.
If it were that easy,
if
it were that easy.
Again, we could write that book and make the million and retire. So take that with you. Up until now, you've been this. What could you be next?
Yes.
And then if you want to get in touch with me, my email address is my Instagram handle, Scorebecca, SCOREBECCA @gmail. So easy peasy.
Easy.
And I do also have my blog that I mentioned before is Stumbler, which is spelled like Tumblr, but with an S at the beginning, .blog. So
gotcha.
You can find
All right,
me there too.
We'll make sure to put some of that in the notes so that people can easily find you. Rebecca, you are just pure inspiration and light, and your sense of humor and just like your realness and authenticity is like such a gift. And I just continue to wish you like the best in your health and getting a negative test here and in your business and in the work that you want to do and in sharing your messages and having even bigger platforms to inspire others. You're just a light. So thank you for being that light on this show today.
Oh, thank you, Tosca. It's been a delight. I always love talking to you, and this was especially fun.
Yay. Likewise. Well, I guess thanks everyone for joining now and after the fact, and ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye.